So welcome everyone to this afternoon session of Stories from the Field. I hope you've enjoyed your last session if you've been in one earlier this afternoon, and this morning if you joined the conference for the whole day. So this afternoon we're going to hear from two fantastic teams and the work they've been doing through the Patchwork programme, both with a focus on major sporting events. We've got an hour together, so we'll hear from each of the teams first, and then after we'll open it up for question and answers. But do feel free to put any comments or questions in the chat as we go along. And then at the end, you'll also be able to put your hand up, come off mute, and ask any questions you like. So firstly, we're going to hear about the blueprint for movement. So I'm just actually going to hand straight over to Craig, Tracy and Amy to introduce themselves and to tell us about their work. Thank you.
Okay, that's over to me, I believe. We can probably move on to the next slide, actually. So first of all, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Craig McFadden from Street Games. I work within our national sports team as the Sports Partnerships and Inspiration Campaign Manager. Before I move on and let the others introduce themselves, I wanted to take a moment to say thank you to the Patchwork team for supporting us throughout this programme and for hosting this amazing conference. In particular to Deborah, Lenny and Charlie, plus all the others from across the Sport England team. When we were building this this presentation, we identified that we're really excited to be able to contribute to this conference and share information about our positive experiences project. I'd like to share my gratitude as well to both Tracy and Amy, who will introduce themselves shortly, and other colleagues supporting behind the scenes, whether it's in our comms team, whether it's people involved in delivery, whether it's from the research and insight team. Yeah, their engagement, stamina and energy throughout this programme has been really, really vital in making it a success, but also recognising we still have a lot of work to do in this space as well. So over to you guys.
Hi there, I'm Amy Mercer. I'm the Programme Manager at the Personal Best Foundation, and we are the official charity of England Athletics with a vision around empowering and changing the lives of young children through the power of athletics.
Hi everybody, my name is Tracy Francis. I'm Head of Participation at England Athletics. I look after all their participation programmes, including Phonetics, Run Together, which is our social running programme, and what we call Special Projects, which is this year the European Championships Legacy Programme.
Fantastic. Right, if we can move on to the next slide, please. I suppose we should start with a slight caveat for our project, in the sense that we had to work slightly differently and on a different timeline to perhaps some others within the cohort, as we had a live project that was already gathering momentum around our work with around the European Athletics Championships with England Athletics and the Personal Best Foundation. There was an element of retrofitting required throughout the programme, but it was equally really, really important and a really useful process for us to go through. As I'm sure many of the people on this call will be aware, I know we've got colleagues from British Cycling talking after us as well. Major sporting events and their social impact legacy plans can play a vital role in creating positive experiences for young people. Our project aimed to explore how major sporting events can embed physical literacy, especially from young people from low affluent families, take a partnership approach with Street Games, England Athletics, Personal Best Foundation and others, building towards Birmingham 2026 and the European Athletics Championships. We aim to develop a practical blueprint for community delivery and social impact, embed youth voice practices with young people shaping activities and their experiences, and to improve event connectivity, ensuring that we're linking local communities to major events taking place on their doorstep. And through that, we also aim to increase community capacity by strengthening organisations through training, resources and support. Moving on. I suppose this is the rationale behind our project, why we decided to pick this one up. And as you would imagine, it really closely aligns to our strategies across the three organisations. And we know that major sporting events inspire millions, but often not equally. young people from low-income, underserved communities are still far less likely to engage and connect to major sporting events. That's often driven by barriers such as cost, access, relevance, and a sense of belonging to that event, that place, that venue. All of these barriers ultimately limit the impact of these events for this target audience. The project is about changing that, connecting the power of major events to community-led delivery, right on the doorstep of young people, and turning inspiration into participation. Moving on.
So our target audience is children and young people growing up in some of the most deprived communities in Birmingham, where inequality is a daily reality. So the city actually ranks third nationally on the Income Deprivation Affecting Children Index, and over 60% of children are living in income-deprived households. So these young people are facing multiple barriers to being active, such as limited access to safe and affordable facilities, fewer local opportunities, and financial pressures on families, just to name a few. As a result, only 42% met recommended activity levels and 38% are inactive. So we worked with key stakeholders such as Street Games and Sport Birmingham to define priority areas for this aspect of the project, which for us had to be in IMD 1 to 3, where the scale of need is significant. That's why it's crucial for us to design with, not just for, young people. So we're creating accessible, inclusive, and logical and local opportunities that reflect their realities, remove the barriers, and give every child a fair chance to be active, healthy, and supported. And the evidence has showed a clear need for a safe, inclusive, and local opportunity that enables young people to feel active and supported. Can we have the next slide, please?
It's me, I think. This was initially informed by the success of Birmingham 2022, the Commonwealth Games, where phonetics played a real central role in that legacy plan, and of course was supported and financially supported by Sport England. There's a real opportunity to build physical literacy more clearly into legacy and social impact plans. Major events can be a powerful starting point for change, but legacy needs to begin early, right at the beginning stage, and continue before, during, and long after the event has gone. We need to focus on programs that do more than just inspire. They should help children and young people build the skills, confidence, and understanding they need to stay active for life. What we're really learning is that some parts of the legacy planning make more of a difference than others. For example, investing in the workforce really matters. Supporting local and trusted delivery partners really creates high quality, consistent experiences. And co-creating with communities and building on what's already there is also key to making it last. Most importantly, physical literacy doesn't just happen because of a major event. It has to be designed in from the start with children and young people at the centre of everything we do. Next slide, please. Our hypothesis for embedding physical literacy as part of an informed approach was built around 3 guiding principles, what we would call a footprint for life. Number 1, major events. Number 2, the doorstep sport 5 rights. And number 3, the 5 C's for coaching children. We believed adopting these 3 principles would influence our decision-making process for a framework. So in terms of major events, we need to continue to commit to and attract major events into core cities. That's key. The doorstep club's 5 rights, it needs to be the right price, time, place, people, and style. What we mean by this is it's got to be affordable. Does it fit with a young person's life? Is it easily accessible and inclusive? Do we have the right role models and leaders to deliver? And finally, our style. What we've created needs to be varied and inclusive, and the activities need to be tailored to young people's needs. In terms of the 5 C's for coaching, what we really are talking about here is that our framework needs to help build confidence, competence, connection, character, and creativity in young people. We believe that if we can create a positive experience and a personal relationship with sport, This will drive participation using the showcase of a major event to spark that interest and engagement. Next slide, please.
Oh, that's me. So what are we doing? So Personal Best Foundation has worked closely with stakeholders like Street Games to identify locally trusted organisations in targeted awards to establish community athletics hubs within local neighbourhoods. We have then funded training for local staff and volunteers through Phonetics, which is a fun, inclusive England athletics programme for children aged 4 to 11, which focuses on developing the fundamental movement skills like run, jump, throw, through engaging age-appropriate activities that are accessible to all. The next step was to fund the delivery of 39 weeks of free term-time athletics at each of the hubs to bring the activity directly into communities. These sessions also included time spent with the children outside of physical activity, so for example, snack and chat. This creates safe, supportive spaces where young people can build confidence, develop a sense of belonging, and gain positive early experiences of athletics while strengthening their physical literacy. That journey is extended through fun, low-pressure festivals using the Phonetics Multi-Challenge, an England athletics initiative that gives young people a positive first experience of athletics competition, both in clubs and through the community hubs. With partners like Street Games, an initial pilot of doorstep run clubs is being rolled out, making activity easier to access for teenagers, removing barriers such as cost, travel, and confidence. Alongside this, there is a strong focus on youth voice, ensuring young people help shape sessions, influence decisions, and feel genuine ownership, which builds leadership and turns participants into role models. We're also harnessing the power of volunteers, both within communities and through the European Championships, creating visible role models and opening up opportunities for people to support, lead, and engage. This helps build a joined-up, community-led pathway that meets young people where they are, helps to break down barriers, and inspires lasting participation. By linking this to the European Champs, we're using the event as a powerful moment to spark interest and connect young people to athletics in a way that feels relevant and exciting. This is further strengthened through opportunities and incentives for young people and communities to attend the event, helping attract new audiences and embed venues like the Alexander Stadium as a true community facility. Could we have the next slide, please? We thought it would be great for you to see firsthand what goes on at a community hub and the impact they're having. This one includes lots of action from one of our Birmingham hubs. If it works.
Every child's journey looks different, but every child has a personal best.
These community spaces are where confidence begins.
It starts with feeling safe, knowing this is your space.
It built up my confidence, so now I just know here is like my safe place. I can speak to anyone.
You see it in their faces when they realise it's not always about medals or podiums. It's about fun, confidence and resilience.
That moment where they realise they can do it. That's everything.
I my personal best.
Personal Best Foundation is very much about changing young lives through athletics, developing the physical skills of running, jumping and throwing. There's just so much more to do to engage those children who are most at risk of inactivity. This is all about fun, enjoyment, building friendships and just really kind of increasing the confidence of children.
I love being active. It's the best.
You can see them growing, not just stronger, but happier.
I look forward for this all week.
Movement brings us together. Every background, every story.
Every child has a personal best.
That is my personal best.
Find out more at personalbestfoundation.org.uk.
Thanks, Matt. Could we have the next slide, please? So where are we now on this journey so far? So there are now 5 community hubs established in Birmingham, with 3 currently operational, and we're now scoping a pilot SEND hub with Access Sport to ensure inclusion remains a central focus. Since January, 21 community leaders have received phonetics training, strengthening the local workforce to deliver engaging and inclusive activity across these hubs. At the Street Games and Access Sport Community Festival in May, over 300 young people participated in a range of sports, and around 450 children to date have experienced athletics through this and the Daily Mile event hosted by the London Marathon Foundation. This demonstrates both the scale of our impact so far and our ongoing commitment to increasing participation and creating positive experiences for children in our communities. Importantly, this work is underpinned by a strong focus on physical literacy, supporting children to develop the fundamental movement skills, confidence, and motivation needed to be more active for life. By embedding these principles through phonetics and our community delivery, we are helping children build not just skills, but a lifelong connection to physical activity, health, and well-being. Next slide, please.
I have the nice challenge now of bringing some of this youth voice work that we've undertaken to life. So alongside our team's organisational knowledge, research and insight, we utilised the community festival at the Alexander Stadium that Amy just referenced there to help inform our prototyping around the pilot of a new community athletics programme, the Dorset Sport Teenage Run Club. We asked young people to use one word to describe athletics, and as the word cloud highlights, young people's positive association with the sport. As you can see, the most prominent word was fun. Others which some might found relevant to physical literacy, such as movement, happy, healthy, excited, were all pulled out of that engagement with young people at the event. We also engaged wider sporting ecosystem during the event, inviting decision makers and key stakeholders, as well as the really important community leaders and volunteers. Thank you. What we're seeing is really strong positivity, with over half of the young people reporting a very positive experience whilst at the event, with almost no negative feedback whatsoever. Even more importantly, around 3/4 say that they want to take part more often as a result of their participation in this event. That's a clear signal of demand that we need to respond to, and the voices behind the data reinforce this, with families discovering new opportunities in young people enjoying sport together, an emphasis on the importance of connection. So what does this mean? Well, the opportunity is clear. Major events need to build on these positive experiences and convert them into sustained participation. There is a real opportunity for major sporting events to embed physical literacy into their social impact and legacy plans. Next slide, please.
We're nearly there, honestly. Right now, the two biggest events this year in the athletics calendar, the Commonwealth Games in Glasgow is in July and the European Athletics Champs is in Birmingham in August. They're still ahead of us, so we're just at the starting point. But our call to action is based around three core principles. Number one, major events. For major events to really make a difference, we need to think beyond the event itself. Legacy should be built before, during, and long after the event finishes. That means investing in communities from the start, building skills, creating opportunities, and making sure people can be part of it. For example, giving access to the event itself as a spectator or a volunteer, or engaging in local events and festivals as a participant or a leader. Working together is number two. It only works if we work together. National bodies, local partners, and communities need to share ideas, resources, and insight. Programmes should be shaped by evidence, co-created with communities, and delivered by the people who know those communities best. And we need to trust local partners to tailor the programmes so that they work for their young people. And then finally, but most importantly, number three, young people. Young people have to be at the centre of all of this. Their voices and the theme of move, connect, feel and think should help create opportunities that feel relevant, accessible and local to them. We should keep sharing the data and the learning, especially around physical literacy and participation, so we can keep improving what we do. We know our programme can kickstart that change, but lasting impact and keeping young people engaged for life will only happen if there's a continued investment and strong alignment with wider strategic plans. That's how we keep attracting major events and make sure that they leave a real legacy behind. Because if we get this right, we won't just deliver great events, we'll create a lasting connection to sport and physical activity for a generation of young people. Our hope is that the principles of this blueprint for movement, embedding physical literacy into community sport, can be adopted across all major UK sporting events in the future. And finally, on behalf of England Athletics, the Personal Best Foundation and Street Games will leave you with the following video from our community festival. So sit back and enjoy.
Events like today are just so important for the community Street Games works with, because very often they won't get the opportunity to access major sporting events or to feel the inspiration of the events where athletes are taking part, competing for major medals.
Sport is a fantastic leveller in society, and it provides access to a whole range of benefits that every child and young person can enjoy or should enjoy, from physical and mental health and well-being, life skills, life prospects, to belonging and community engagement, and every child should have access.
I think it's massive for young people to feel that they belong in sport, because it just gives them self-purpose, really, motivation to do other things, meeting new teammates, connecting in different social circles than they normally would, and rather than just being at school or just being at home with their families. And I think it just opens doors and opportunities as you get a bit older, you know, just doing sport and meeting people from different areas.
Major events are a critical part of UK sport DCMS's and the government strategy to actually drive participation in this country. Yeah, this event, we have built a massive programme of events across the region. We want this to be an event that everybody feels is theirs, not something that people look at and go, that's for other people.
Us elite athletes can often feel like we're in this bubble of performance, but connecting with the community is essential because it keeps the sport an ecosystem. It really does affect your performances when you feel like you belong to something that's bigger than yourself. And for every kid or young person to really feel like, regardless of their ability level, that they can come and have a good time and be around friends, that's so important for their development.
My favourite thing about today was that how diverse it was and how many different activities there were for different kinds of people. It's made me feel more confident because it's shown me that anyone can do anything they put their eyes to.
We tend to take our kids out quite a lot. My older boy, he's quite adventurous, so whenever we do go out, it's quite limited. He's always watching on the sidelines or something like that. But today he's able to get involved. So yeah, it gave him an opportunity to join in.
The impact that the event has had on the young people today is that they've had a bigger sense of what sports really is and how each sport can be catered to their needs, no matter how big or how small it is.
That's what sport's about. It's just that element of trying something and then going again and again and knowing that you can improve personally and not thinking about what other people think of you.
Today's event has just been fantastic. It's been such an important collaborative effort, particularly between Street Games and Access Sport as the lead partners, but we would not have been able to do it alone. There are a range of different activity partners involved in the event. We've had financial support from the London Marathon Foundation, support from the Personal Best Foundation, support from the City Council, and all the other partners around this activity and around the Beyond programme that have made today such a success.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for taking us through the work that you've been doing and really bringing it to life for us, and absolutely loved the videos. So thank you so much. I'm going to hand straight over now to Jonathan and Natasha, who are the team that are leading the Tour de France programme, just to talk you through their work. And at the end of that, we'll then open up to questions. So yeah, over to you.
Hello everyone, lovely to meet you all, and thank you so much for taking the time this afternoon to hear a little bit about our programme. My name is Natasha, I'm the Social Impact Manager for the Tour de France Grand Depart, and I'm joined by Jonathan, who is our Social Impact Officer leading on the development of our digital schools activity. The JOY programme, which is the name of our social impact programme, is extremely ambitious, and the idea behind it is harnessing the event and the power of a major and mega sporting event to create positive and sustainable change for communities, both on and off the bike. The reason why we have really invested our time into looking at digital schools and schools activity is because we really are hopeful in getting into households a year before the race, with activity starting to be rolled out from August 2027. The idea is if we are able to support young people, relate the race to everyday subjects and embed physical literacy methodology into the heart of what we are doing, we'll be able to support children build a lifelong relationship with physical activity. If I could pop over to the next slide, please.
So we've seen before the effect that major sports can have from inspiring people. In 2007, the Tour de France Grand Depart came to London with the opening prologue and thousands lined the streets. 2012, cycling seemed to capture the nation's imagination. Bradley Wiggins won the Tour de France, the Olympics, the whole buzz that came around that, and you could really feel the effect of that. In 2014, the Tour de France Grand Depart came to Yorkshire. Living in Sheffield at the time with the tour coming through, I can let you know that everybody seemed to be riding a bike. And if anybody who knows Sheffield, it is not flat there. So it was extremely good to see people out and moving. So as we look ahead to 2027, when Great Britain will host Tour de France Grand Depart and the Tour de France Femme Grand Depart avec Zwift, we know we have an incredible opportunity. But the real question is not whether the Tour de France can inspire people, because we've seen that it can. The question is, how do we use the event to support children build a positive, sustainable relationship with physical activity? Next slide, please.
Perfect. So just to give everyone a little bit of background to what Joy means and what we are hoping to achieve, we have 3 core missions, which look at tackling inactivity and improving mental well-being, making Britain more productive and prosperous, and supporting communities to thrive. And across that, we are delivering 6 UK-wide programmes, which look at girls' participation, supporting girls build a relationship with physical activity and intervening in that drop-off rate of physical activity from primary school to high school. A trade, soft power and diplomacy programme, which is really looking at how we as the UK can demonstrate ourselves as a leader in hosting mega sporting events. An employability programme, which looks at embedding skills and workforce opportunity, particularly for 18 to 25-year-olds, throughout our entire delivery. This goes from us at British Cycling, throughout our centralised procurement, and also through our volunteering. Our digital schools programme has 3 core interventions. Firstly, physical literacy activity cards, which we're going to be talking to you about today. Also some core curriculum activities and resources, lesson plans, that kind of thing for key stage 1 to 3 pupils. And then finally, a business simulation challenge. Our arts and culture programme looks at really kind of bolstering the essence of the tour and bringing it to life in every single community. And a community engagement toolkit, which really looks at supporting individuals bring the tour to their home, to their area, in a way that suits them. We've highlighted 4 programmes here, and the reason we've done that is whilst we're only talking to you about one element of our digital schools programme today, we've taken a lot of learnings from this patchwork programme, particularly looking at physical literacy methodology and how we can embed that throughout our entire delivery operation. And so there's really 4 core themes or programmes rather, where physical literacy has been embedded into the planning and ultimately will be embedded into the delivery of these programmes. So we just wanted to take some time to demonstrate and reflect that physical literacy is really going to be embedded throughout the entirety of Joy. We are hosting a stakeholder day, so I do have to send my apologies because I will have to dip out of this now. But JP has really done a brilliant presentation. I'm really looking forward to everyone hearing about how we've been embedding physical literacy and our learnings from this programme into our digital schools programme. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. So next slide, please. So within that wider plan, as we were talking about, the part we're really focusing on today is the physical literacy strand within the digital schools programme. And I suppose what I want to highlight really here is that cycling can mean so many things across somebody's life. It can be the first time somebody moves under their own power. It can be riding to the park to meet friends. It can be commuting later in life. You use it for leisure, sport, family time, transport, independence. And one of the things I used to get when I was a child is that sense of freedom. And I think cycling really kind of ties into that. And that's where it always used to land for me as a young person at the time. So I think that's why cycling connects so strongly to movement throughout life. But we all know that first experience really matters. And So from our market tracker that we have, we know that 30.2 million people in the UK ride a bike, and 18%, so almost a fifth of that, are aged 16 to 24. But as we've talked about, with that drop-off, we know that group could actually be so much bigger if we weren't getting that drop-off, because, you know, a third of girls drop out of sport and physical activity post the age of 11. So learning to ride can create so many things, and the need is not to simplify it's that children need to learn to ride a bike. The deeper need is that children need that first experience to feel safe and joyful and achievable and supported, so that they can start building that positive relationship with movement. Next slide, please. So I want to take you back a little bit to 2018, when we launched Ready, Set, Ride in partnership with the Youth Sport Trust. So it was designed as a fun and easy way to help children learn to ride a bike, from early movement activities through to independent riding. And the resource was structured around 3 stages. The initial one, Prepare, which develops those fundamental movements that underpin cycling. Balance, which supports children moving on and using a balance bike and becoming part of, like, one with the bike. And then Pedal, that helps to that final step towards independent riding and the freedom, as I said before, that kind of comes with moving on 2 wheels. So the question, I suppose, is why did we need to revamp it? And a quote that we had at the launch at the time said, "We can't turn Britain into a great cycling nation without first equipping our children with the vital skills they need to ride a bike from a young age." And I suppose that ambition still matters, but through the Patchwork programme, we began to ask a wider question alongside the skills children need to ride a bike. How do we support that confidence and enjoyment and sense of belonging that makes them want to keep moving? Next slide, please. So being part of the cohort gave us an opportunity, like I said, to pause and look again. And we had the chance to work with our mentor organisation, Chance to Shine, who had been in cohort 1, and we got some really good, interesting chats going with them about hearing how they approach their own resource. And that challenged us to look at Ready, Set, Ride with a set of fresh eyes, really, and led us to a simple question of what would Ready, Set, Ride look like through a physical literacy lens if we really shone it on it. And that was not because the product was broken. The activities were already, like, playful and progressive and practical, and they already helped adults break cycling down into manageable steps for the participants. But we began to ask whether the physical literacy value was visible enough for the participants. Was it intentional enough and easy enough for the teachers and parents to draw out? So that became the real focus of the redevelopment piece that we did around it. Next slide, please. So one of the important things to say is that we didn't want to do a complete rebuild of this, because there were so many elements of it that we really wanted to keep. So we kept the 3-step progression, the fun game-based activities, they stayed. The simple equipment, you know, that fundamental stage is pretty much able to be run with some balled up socks or a tray with some items on it to learn balance. So we kept that. And the flexibility and accessibility, that stayed. And one of the many strengths that Ready, Set, Ride had is that the adults delivering the product didn't need to be cycling experts to use it. A teacher, parent, or coach who was picking it up could just run the session through the simple activity cards. And I think if you looked into a key piece of research that's been done by the Bikeability Trust about the Lost Generation report, that really resonates with this kind of band of parents that we now have who never learned to ride, and so are very unconfident in teaching the next generation of riders. And there's almost like a skill gap there that's been lost. So if that parent doesn't feel confident around cycling, then they're not going to feel confident delivering it. And so actually, how impactful is that on that child's first experience? So what we did change, and what we thought was a real opportunity, was to work again around the reflective phase. There is a reflective phase in there, but we wanted to change it. And we really wanted to pull it out so that it was more clearly aligned with the physical literacy domains around move, think, feel, and connect. So in other words, like I said, we weren't trying to make the cards more complicated. In fact, what we were trying to do was make the learning more visible. So in a school setting, a teacher can draw those out with the children. So this expanded the outcome as well from simply completing a skill to help the children understand what they were learning, why it matters, how they feel doing it, and also how it connects them to others. Next slide, please. So just a very quick visual here. This is a picture taken from one of our simple steps in the first prepare strand. So this is stamp and slide. As you can see, you can pretty much use this with a pair of balled up socks or a bean bag or something that's very accessible to use. But the game is based around children creating a goal and placing, like I said, a beanbag on the floor and stamping on it and sliding it back to kind of replicate that motion on a pedal. And so that links it directly to that outcome. But on the surface, it's a simple movement game. But we wanted to refresh the questions so that it becomes more than that. So the move question became more about, what did your body do to stamp, slide, and score? The think was more around like, how might this movement help you when you get on a bike? So actually getting them to think about that next step. How did it feel when you kept practicing and improved? And connection, this works obviously quite well in a school setting where you've got multiple children delivering the same activity at the same time. Like, how did you take turns to support or encourage the others that were around you? So it moves the card simply from complete this task to notice what you're learning and how you're feeling and how you're moving with others. The activity itself didn't become more complicated. It's just the questions are there to unlock that thinking and unlock that experience for the child. So in essence as well, the redevelopment is for the child, but it's also about supporting the adults, so supporting that wider community that are helping them engage with physical activity and building that relationship. Next slide, please. So where are we now? As mentioned, we've worked with Youth Sport Trust to redevelop all of what were originally me statements on the cards to realign to those move, think, feel, connect questions. But because of the way that we're delivering the tool, we also have to be able to make sure that all of our schools' resources are acceptable to go into Welsh schools. So we're working with Sport Wales to make sure that the resource is suitable for delivery in Welsh schools and match up to Wales' interpretation of their physical literacy consensus. So the wider digital schools kit is in development. So as Natasha was talking about, those wider curriculum-lined resources that bring cycling into the classroom through worksheets or full lesson plans, they're in development. They'll be ready to go from August. And the Tour de France Secondary School Business Challenge as well, fully in development, ready to be going across when schools come back in the summer holidays. So the next step is to launch right at the start of that academic year, like we were talking about, so that we can get in to schools as early as we can and start creating the noise around the event, get people thinking about cycling, because it's a long time before it comes through. But actually, there's so much that people can do on that journey before the tour comes and actually learning more and exploring the sport. Next slide, please. So beyond the event, in closing, just wanted to say, we believe that Grand Depart gives us a once-in-a-generation opportunity to create lasting impact. We've talked about how these major events can drive that. Through our social impact programme, Joy, we plan to use the event to boost children's relationship with physical activity through schools, give them confidence right at the start of that journey, right where it matters, so that they can continue that journey and hopefully that love of cycling all the way through. Create employment opportunities for young people to support them develop their skills and harness that pride in place and deeper connection, to the tour, to the sport, to facilities in people's regions that they're able to get to explore. Cycling is wonderful. It's multifaceted. We've got so many different disciplines. There's a bit for everybody, but you've got to start that journey correctly so that you have that positive experience. And we want to create lasting positive impact for communities who do and ultimately who don't currently engage with cycling, and build on that rising legacy of all of these mega events that come. And like the repeating national events, like we were talking about, we have Tour of Britain, Athletics Championships, the returning events. We need to be able to build on that to really drive people's engagement with movement and physical activity. So I'm just going to finish there, actually, and just say thank you very much for your time today and listening.
Thank you, Jonathan. Fantastic. Again, really great to hear the work come to life, and such a strong focus on physical literacy and applying that all the way throughout. So we've got kind of another just under 20 minutes left. So I kind of want to open it up to any questions. There aren't any questions in the chat. So if anyone does have a question, feel free to put your hand up or come off mute and ask away to any of the teams. While we wait, I might ask one, if that's okay then, and see if people put their hands up. Oh no, there's one coming. Let's go with that. So one for Jonathan. Are you doing anything to support the cultural shift amongst deliverers of Ready Set Ride?
I think from our point of view, with Ready Set Ride, is we're pushing it out initially from a Tour de France through the digital schools toolkit, but ultimately the resource will be available to all people so that it can be developed. I mean, I very much used it at home to get my daughter to ride a bike, because she doesn't listen to me, even though I work for British Cycling and the Grand Depart. But what do I know? But she'd listen to a coach, and actually really benefited doing it in a one-to-one setting. Whereas I know that we're trying to get it out there so that more people can use it, just because of the fact that, like I said, there's almost a generation of people who aren't happy to teach people about riding because they're not confident in doing it themselves. And it would be exactly the same with me trying to teach somebody how to throw a shot put or something similar, where I'm just going, I've watched it on the television, but I haven't got a clue about how to do it. So we want to equip as many people to be able to do that. At the moment, it's going to be a digital resource. There's no plan at the moment to do physical cards to be able to kind of address a digital barrier that is there. But the hope in engaging so many people through schools is that, you know, schools are multicultural, so we should be able to address hopefully some of those issues through going through schools.
Thank you. Hopefully that's answered your question, Kimberly. We've got one more question, which I think probably is for both groups. What have you found to be the biggest barrier or hurdle when embedding action past major events?
I'm happy to start this off, and I'll hand over to anybody else from either teams. Like you say, it probably crosses into both groups. I would suggest one of the biggest barriers would be that often in the past, some major sporting events have perhaps been guilty of not doing that co-design piece well. So co-designing those offers with young people, with local community groups, volunteers, and the whole community sport ecosystem. If that's done really, really well, not only do you get programs and engagement that is co-designed, but it's needed. So it becomes a needs-led approach. And you also then, by engaging the local community in the design of these things, there's more chance of that sense of connection, that sense of belonging, and therefore the buy-in to what comes next. So yeah, my call to action would be, please really explore how future events co-design these opportunities, programs, and legacy plans with the local community, including children and young people.
Thanks, Craig. Does anyone else want to come in from these other groups?
I think the only thing I would add around that is that previous experience, I think we've got so much better at this, but one of the biggest, I suppose, pieces that people have looked at is that not being prepared for legacy. So actually not being prepared for a major sporting event inspiring a huge amount of people to suddenly want to do your activity, whatever that is. And I remember people talking about when England won the Rugby World Cup and everybody wanted to go and play rugby, and they all turned up at the rugby clubs, and the clubs just, they weren't ready for it, but they weren't set up to be able to take all of that enthusiasm and do something with it. And, you know, British cycling has always been prepared for working with the club networks that we have and facilities that we use to make sure that we are saying, you know, this event's coming, people are going to be inspired, these are the things that we're putting in place. How can you elevate these in your space to work with your communities, and how can you do that? So I think that's one of the biggest learnings that we've had so far, and one of the things that we're always trying to think about is that being prepared for that legacy piece, because if you don't talk about it beforehand, you don't prep people, then it just falls apart.
I think, oh, sorry, I was going to say, I completely agree with Jonathan. I think that's kind of where we've done a lot of our kind of basis and practice on, so that we have those hubs and programs ready, and actually they're going to run far on past the champs, you know, to make sure that those young people and children have that space and exit route to carry on. And it's not just that kind of drop in, drop out. It is really a real community effort to build that sustainable kind of legacy after the champs, but that was also hopefully there before it began.
Thanks, Amy. Thanks, Jonathan. I think we've got, there's just a comment back, Jonathan, for you in the chat, which maybe you can read at some point, from Kimberly. Craig, I know you've added a few things. Thank you. I think, Craig and Jonathan, you kind of touched on this, but I was just going to ask, is there one simple thing that you can suggest that people on this call go away and do or think about next week, over the next few weeks, in terms of their work in relation to kind of thinking about physical literacy?
If it was one thing, I would say, and I'm sure a lot of the organisation team will be doing this, but continue to and enhance the embedding of youth voice within the work that you're doing, whatever that is in relation to, whether it is major sporting events or beyond. The power of youth voice should be embedded and be a part of everything that we do for children and young people.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone on the teams, or no worries if not? Nope. Okay. Well, I think unless anyone can see any other questions or wants to put their hand up, then I think we can probably wrap this session up. So I just wanted to say a really huge thanks to the teams that have presented today and sharing your work and really bringing it to life for us. So Craig, Amy, Tracy, Jonathan and Natasha, and thanks everyone else on the call for joining us and engaging online today. It's been very hot and we really appreciate you staying with us until the end. We hope you found the day useful, informative and kind of really engaging, and I guess exciting to go away and start to think about a little bit more around this area of work and what people have spoken to you about today, and giving you some ideas to really consider in your work across your team and your organisation. If you are interested in learning more, please do visit the Positive Experience Collective website, and there's a lot more resources and information on there. And if you're interested in putting your name down for one of the future cohorts of the Patchwork programme, I'll put the link in the chat in a second so you can register your interest there. We're not going back into the main room now, so that is us done for the day. So you're free to go and get a drink and have a bit of time back. But yes, thank you so much all again, and yeah, hope to see you soon.